Welcome to the Southeastern 14 Wednesday Night Live special. I'm Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell and Blayne Gilmer. As always, our presenting sponsor, Stakes. We're going to involve those folks tonight with some cool prop bets and all sorts of stuff. But, gentlemen, great weeks of football this year. I am so excited about week 2.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the week 1 was exciting just to have a full slate of football games back again, and now we get some conference games, get some conference SEC on SEC action. So, Blake, I'm excited about that. Kind of seeing what those games look like, getting into the meat of the schedule, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we're always looking forward to the SEC games and having a couple very intriguing matchups, which I know we'll talk about here over the next hour. Just two pretty interesting matchups, I think, just given where the teams are, the 4 teams involved in those. So yeah, happy to have some SEC games. Elsewhere, you've got a little intrigue, of course, with Tennessee and Pitt, Alabama, Texas. I think Texas A&M, Appalachian State, especially after that North Carolina game with the Mountaineers last week, that maybe looks a little bit more interesting.
Absolutely crazy.
Than we would have thought. So, I like this lineup this week. I think there's a lot of interesting matchups. So,
well, we thought the SEC would be really good. I think what stood out to me last week, guys, was the league went, what was it? I don't know, 12-2 against the spread, 11-3, something like that. And these were not low numbers in a lot of cases, which really has me intrigued for week 2. I found myself when I was making picks, and we've got plenty of them at Stakes, the app, so get in that and let us know if you agree or disagree with what we put down there. We've got straight up winners and against the spread on every game. We've got some prop bets on some games. We want to hear your prop bets.
yeah.
If you got any good prop bets you want us to put up in the app, drop them in the comments, or better yet, put them in the app yourself, drop them in the comments, and then we'll all go bet on them after the show. But yeah, just a dominant showing by the SEC. Week 2, I think I tried to pick, guys, the 5 games that I like the best this week, and I had trouble just picking 5. But let me give you my number 1 game that I'm looking forward to seeing, and then you guys give me yours. I think the one that I'm eager to watch the most this week, and this is close. There's a lot that I want to watch, but I'll take my cue from Blayne here. It's the Gators and the Wildcats. I just think that one is going to be very interesting, especially after Florida's debut under Billy Napier a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, obviously my whole main thing, the reason I thought that Florida would lose that game is because of their rush defense. And they did give up 230 yards rushing. I just didn't know that Anthony Richardson would go out and play like Superman his first start. And he did. I mean, he played great in terms of his athleticism. I still think that there's a little bit left to be desired in that Florida passing game. And I think you're going to see a faster and better executed defense in Mark Stoops' scheme this week. So I'm excited to see how Anthony Richardson does against that in his second game. And can they match the emotional high? That's what I'm looking forward to see. But Kentucky has their own issues, Blake. I mean, they're already having to shuffle the offensive line around a little bit after a lackluster performance in week 1 on the offensive line. So definitely some interesting games inside the game when you talk Kentucky and Florida.
Yeah, I think we talked a bit about the offensive line. We did our kind of reaction and kind of talking about some of those things. And I mean, look, Florida, as we said, guys, I mean, Florida looked good. There's no other way to put it in week 1. That was a great win over a top 10 team at home. And now, you come back and you prepare for a team that, look, I think a lot of people, it was Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee. Like those are the 3 teams that you feel like right there, who's going to be kind of the team that emerges closest to Georgia. I don't know that anyone challenges Georgia at the top based on what we saw in week 1, but I think these 3 teams specifically, Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, you're getting 2 of them matching up here. And I think that certainly, we know, like in college football, just with the number of games you play, everyone's important. But I think especially, for a week 2 game here between these 2 teams and feeling like they are both in position to at least have a shot to be right up there as the one behind Georgia maybe throughout the season. It does make for a very appealing matchup. And I think it's going to be one, like Blayne said, I think you can certainly make the argument either way here. You can talk about the strengths of Kentucky and what they can do to challenge Florida, same way on the other side. So, it's going to be a pretty fun matchup.
Straight up, I'm going Florida. Am I the only one, Blayne? Because I know you've got Kentucky.
I think Kentucky's going to win just because I think that here's some things that people don't you look on the surface level and you say, Kentucky had some struggles and things like that. They were extremely, extremely vanilla against Miami of Ohio. They did not run Will Levis at all. Okay. They didn't run him like design runs at all. What did Cameron Rising do to that Florida defense? He hurt them with his legs. Okay. Will Levis, if anything, showed improvement as a passer. He went for 303 last week and showed that he can have a replacement for Wan'Dale Robinson and Tavion Robinson. So I like this Kentucky offense more than people would think after week one, because they're moving Kenneth Horsey from left guard out to left tackle. Their freshman left tackle, struggled. So they're taking him out. They're moving an experienced senior out to left tackle. I think they'll get Levis's legs more involved in this game. I think it's going to be more competitive than Vegas seems to think. They've got Florida as a 6.5 point favorite. I definitely think Kentucky covers the spread. I would pick them straight up like 27-23, something along those lines.
Shout out to our guy Steak, noted Tennessee fan who is back, and we know Steak is on Steaks. There's no doubt about it.
He's got he better. If you are not on Steak, you got a grace period till the end of the show. And if not, I think our relationship is just not what we thought it was otherwise. But anyway,
I'm going to be the tiebreaker here. I'm going to go half and half with you guys. I'm with Blayne. I think I think Kentucky covers the 6.5, but I'm actually going to take Florida to win. So, I think this is a field goal game to me, unless, like we said, maybe there's a scenario where, I don't know, like, again, whether it's the Kentucky offensive line. I said to you, Chris, I liked a lot of what I saw from Florida in week one. And even though this is, a tough game coming off that tough game, I just feel like there was a lot of things to like about them. And with Anthony Richardson, I just feel like they'll be able to find some of those gaps and maybe exploit it to pick up a close win here.
My second game on the board, and again, there's a lot of games I want to watch. The number 2 game I'm anticipating watching, just from an interest standpoint, is Tennessee at Pitt. Of course, Pitt came to Knoxville and won last year, although I think if you're a Tennessee fan looking back at the season, and you had one regret, it's that you didn't start Hendon Hooker in that game, but he made it interesting. I think, I don't know, Blake, you and I have just been feeling Tennessee for a while.
Yeah,
it may not be one of the better defenses in the league, but I just think that offense, other than maybe Georgia and Bama or Ohio State, is going to play with just about anybody. And I wonder, frankly, about Ohio State after the Notre Dame game. I just think that as fast as Tennessee plays and as good as they are at the skill positions, they're going to be a handful for just about everybody.
Yeah, I've been pretty much on the hype train all off season with Tennessee. I just said I think their offense is going to be so good that the defense doesn't have to be perfect. That's the kind of the line I keep going to on that. As long as their defense just keeps getting better, I think they're going to be a team that every team they play, I think, will have a challenge. And of course, we know they play Alabama, they play Georgia, but I think the pressure that offense can put on teams is going to be the deciding factor in a lot of these games. And, again, yes, they may find themselves in some shootouts, but they're capable of putting up points, I think, even against really good defenses. Sure, we're not going to take one game sample size against Ball State and all of a sudden call them the national champions, but I think you can see just the way the offense plays, and we knew this when Josh Heupel took the job. If they ever get it clicking, which at this point they've got a roster, I think, to where this year they will have it clicking more than they have, last year. And I think when you put all that together, I think there's a lot to like about this Tennessee team. I think they go on the road and win this game. This will be one of the more entertaining games of the weekend, I feel like, just given what we could see from both teams on that side. So,
I mean, you look at some of the player matchups here in terms of the key players and things like that. You know, Keaton Slovis is no slouch. I mean, he's put up some big time yardage at USC. I think coming into that game, I saw for a career he was approaching 8,000 yards. You know, passing for a career before he came into that game. And I know that's out in the Pac-12 where they don't play any defense and stuff like that. But guess what? Tennessee don't play any defense either. So it's going to be the over under on this is 64.5.
Give me the over.
Yeah, Vegas is expecting there to be points scored in this game. So I think when it comes down to it is, that the yards are going to be there. The points are going to be there. So on defense, it's about creating the negative, as many negative plays as you can and the big spots. So my question is, who is better in terms of the top two on those defensive players right there? Is it Byron Young and Tyler Barron? Are they able to get more pressure on Keaton Slovis? Or are Kalijah Cansey and Habakkuk Baldonado able to get more pressure on Hendon Hooker? Because here's the thing. Cansey and Baldonado were all ACC players last year, had 7 and 9 sacks respectively. So, I think they can get after the passer a little bit. It's just a question, does that pace that Tennessee play with and the ability to gash some explosive plays, does that wear out or negate any kind of pass rush that Pitt may have early on in the game? That's my kind of things on it. I like Tennessee to win by a field goal, but I think this is a close game. I don't see. I think that's a very ambitious favorite with it's grown up. It was 4.5 when I made this graphic earlier. You saw Vegas. It's grown to 6.5 on the spread.
Yeah.
Am I dreaming this, or did Tennessee not make an inordinate amount of tackles for loss a year ago? When you said big plays, I started thinking about. And now look, they might have made more because there were a lot of plays run in their games, but still, that was when you made that comment, I started thinking, I know Tennessee's defense isn't the strongest one around, but I want to say that maybe I'm confusing the Vols with someone else, but I want to say they did a decent job of that a year ago.
Yeah, they looking back at the stats, they're between Young, Banks, like Jackson, but like all those guys, they were pretty good at that. So
and Jackson's gone, but the others are back.
Right.
My number 3 game that I want to see, and this is a great list. South Carolina at Arkansas. Carolina was, I know the spread in that game, Carolina won by 24 or whatever it was. And we talked about how good Georgia State was. I wanted to see Carolina do it differently. I wanted to see Spencer Rattler put up a better line. Look, Carolina won that game in, the Frank Beamer son special style, special teams and big plays there. 2 punt blocks for touchdowns. I think a fake field goal that went for a first down. But the numbers of offense were very similar between Georgia State and South Carolina. So I've got some questions about Carolina after that based on how it won. Look, Arkansas, I just thought played a really good Cincinnati team pretty well from start to finish. I think led the game the whole way or close to it. That fan base is energized and up for this one as well. It should be. 8.5 maybe seems like a lot of. I just think that South Carolina is probably going to play better than it did a week ago. But look, we've had the Hogs number 3 in our SEC power rankings for a couple weeks straight, so we're believers there too. I'm just really intrigued. I feel like with Arkansas, you're going to get really good effort. I don't think Arkansas is going to go out and lay an egg. It's really the Carolina end of this that intrigues me. And can this team come into Fayetteville and pull an upset the way it was pulling them just left and right at the end of last season?
Here's my thing, and I've been fighting with people in YouTube comments and Twitter all day long about this, about stuff is people. I've been saying that South Carolina, if you go back and watch that game, Georgia State had to punt 9 times in the game, but they got pushed around up front by a Georgia State offensive line, and there was times where they were clipping off 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. There were 5 different drives where Georgia State had a run of 7 yards or more, which people say, oh, that's a 7-yard run. That's a chain mover, and that keeps the chains going. And then also they gave up 3 runs over 20 yards, 2 runs over 40 yards. Okay, that's against Georgia State. If you do that against Arkansas, KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders will be bumping their head on the goalpost over there at the end of the. I mean, they'll come out from a concussion because they've hit the goalpost. They've got there so fast. But what I'm telling you is, I think that Arkansas has a monstrous game on the ground. This is I think the offensive line for Arkansas is a mismatch for South Carolina's defensive line, and I like them to have a big game on the ground, and I think they cover that 8.5.
I was kind of thinking the same. I think this is probably a 10-point Arkansas type win, more perhaps. We talked about this last week, right? In terms of I know all the Arkansas fans who are in there right now. The one thing you're worried about was the secondary and seeing how they defend the pass down the field, and that's one of the things we were talking about quite a bit. And it's understandable.
Is Catalan officially out? Is he officially out at this point? They haven't said publicly, I don't think, but
that would be big.
Yeah,
I know that up. I think that's
I know that they said he has an injury and that they were debating it and stuff like that. I've seen people online and chat rooms and all that say that he may not be there, but I don't think Sam Pittman has officially said that yet. If he is out, to your point, Blake, the issue there is he's a safety, right? And they use him and the nickelback that's out as well. They use those guys to match up with tight ends and things like that. And South Carolina does have 2 good tight ends, Jaheim Bell and Austin Stogner. So that could end up being a little bit of a misplay there for South Carolina if you've got some backup safeties. But here's the benefit for Arkansas: transfer portal. They brought in Latavius Burnett from Georgia. So, a guy that literally played in the run to the national championship for Georgia last year in key situations. So, at least you had a little bit of depth coming in back there via the portal.
So Sam Pittman said that here was a comment, we're not ready to figure out Catalan's situation. We haven't, basically is what he said. He said Slusher's in the same boat. So I think that's kind of what's, that was the comment, I think the most recent one I see based on that. So yeah, I mean, I think that tells you what you need to know without him actually saying it. As we always say with the coach speak, I think that's kind of, what he's saying there. He's just not coming out and saying it. So I think that will obviously be something we'll see, because the South Carolina offense, like we mentioned, was not perfect by any means, was it, guys? So I think, yes, I know Arkansas fans are a little worried about kind of the setup there, but I want to see more from South Carolina's offense. What's it going to look like? I think that's that's just as big of a question. So I think this is no doubt. I mean, this is, again, I just feel like Arkansas is a better team, and like I said, I think this is a 10-point type win for Arkansas, perhaps more. I just feel like they are the better team. And like Blayne said, I think you look up front too and look at some of those things that you feel like Arkansas can take advantage of. And I don't know. I just think it sets up pretty well for Arkansas here.
My 4th game on the board, and this will be a surprise to a lot of people, and we don't get to talk about these guys a lot. And when we did our preseason stuff, when we did our power rankings, the easiest call on the board was Vanderbilt at 14. And honestly, I thought that would stay there all year and it would not budge. I think that now that is at least starting to get called into question. I've still got Vandy 14. I think that Vanderbilt needs to beat somebody first, or somebody right in front of them. Carolina, Missouri needs to lose a bad game before I can go there. But if Vanderbilt can beat Wake this week, and that line has ping-ponged all over the place. It has gone from 6.5 to, I think, 13.5, I think down to 12.5, maybe down to 11.5. And I think that's because Sam Hartman's Wake's quarterback, who we didn't think was going to play a few days ago, is not only going to play, he's going to start. But guys, Vanderbilt, I don't think is overmatched athletically by Wake Forest. Mike Wright has been really, really good in 2 games. Vandy's not turned it over. It's not making a lot of mistakes. It kind of squandered away a big lead late in that Elon game and made it more interesting than it should have been. But Vandy also, I think, only played 36 guys on offense and defense combined, which was fewer than it should have played. Vanderbilt's getting healthier this week. 3 or 4 key starters and backups are coming back. I'm not saying Vandy wins, but if Vanderbilt does win this game, then I think we can start having that discussion about maybe it's not the worst team in the league. And I'm very interested to see if Vandy can make this a game or even win, because if it does, I think the SEC gets more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Vandy, just from a strength of schedule point, when it comes, if they're able to beat teams that they're supposed to beat, in the non-conference, and then they're able to compete against, teams that maybe they haven't been competing with over the last few years, that alone adds a little more respectability, to the bottom tier of the SEC East, so to speak. And that matters when it comes to, when rankings and all this kind of stuff. And now you're about to go to a 12-team playoff and things like that. So some of those teams with that are fighting for the at-large bids at 11 and 12 will be hoping that Vandy, hoping that Vandy's a lot better team, so that win maybe looks better if they beat Vandy, a couple of years from now. So I think Clark Lee's got it going in the right direction. But Blake, I was loving this spread for Vandy until I heard Sam Hartman. Okay.
I was gonna say, I think that's my issue here is Vandy's defense was not great against Elon. And I know it's situational and those kind of things, and it changes week to week, and, different opponent, different type of scheme. And it's just, maybe there's some things that will work out fine here. But I think with Hartman back, I don't love the setup here. And and like I said too, I've said this to Chris a lot. For Vandy, to me, I still want to see what they do against a quality team offensively. I want to see what the offense looks like, having to throw the ball down the field against a quality team. And thus far, sorry Hawaii, sorry Elon, but I think this is certainly, the best team they played. And I think I just want to see some of that stuff before I'm willing to maybe get to that point with Vanderbilt just yet. But like we said, Chris, the first 4 games, I don't want to say this is your season, but it kind of is.
It kind of is.
So it's huge. You won the first 2 just like you were supposed to. You're the underdog here against Wake Forest, but you win this game. You should beat Northern Illinois. And then you go into that SEC schedule being an underdog to everybody, but maybe not Missouri. Who knows? But I think you still look at those kind of games, right? If you're 4-0, you're looking at that Missouri game saying, okay, there's 5 maybe, right? And then we got to find one more somewhere, and then we're going to, basically shock everyone. So I think it's such a different setup. But like you said, this is a huge game for Vanderbilt, but I think all of them are, especially in the non-conference, every single year. So
my 5th game that I want to watch, number 5 of 5, and I want to watch more than this, but this was just picking a top 5. Surprisingly, not Texas and Alabama, because I don't think that one's going to be a game. But it's the same reasoning. It's Missouri and Kansas State. And I had Missouri pretty firmly pegged as the number 13 team in the league. I think all of us did. Again, it's like Vandy. You do not want to extrapolate too much out of impressive showings against bad teams. But
I don't know.
I watched.
It was. They gave up 24 points.
Yeah, but I mean, I watched a lot of that game. And Missouri is better on the defensive line. It just got run. I mean, you and I, any of the 3 of us could have run for 100 yards against Missouri a year ago. That defense looked better. They've got better. They've got some Power 5 transfers that are better. I thought the Charleston kid from Clemson in the secondary who had a pick looked really good. They've got Rakestraw back. They've got better guys in the secondary. And Tyron Hopper, their linebacker, had a terrific game. Again, I don't – the reason that I circle this game is Kansas State is a big step up in competition. And I want to see what is Missouri. I want to see more against a K-State before I buy in. But I couldn't help noticing, but when I watched, the product looked better. And now this is kind of how does it look against, Kansas State? If Kansas State ended the season in the top 25, I don't think any of us would be surprised.
No, they play a tough brand of football at Kansas State, have for a long time. They're going to be physical in their run game. So, we'll see, like you said, how far that that defensive front for Missouri has come. The thing that I was honestly most impressed with, and I knew it from high school, covering him in recruiting and things like that, but Luther Burden is, I mean, he's a special athlete. And
he's a grown man.
Yeah, he is. And they used him. They showed that they're going to use him in creative ways. They're going to put him in the Wildcat, get him the ball that way. Also, they got him some screens and things like that, got him involved early. He had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. And then Dominic Lovett is a guy that, man, he's explosive. Like he's a little thing, but man, he's able to accelerate quickly and has a little wiggle to him. So it's going to be interesting to see how Drinkwitz designs plays to sustain drives against a tough Kansas State team and help Brady Cook out, because there was times where Brady Cook did some things where he had a pick, he could have had another pick. He was shaky at times, and I think that's the biggest downfall for Missouri's offense right now, is not a whole lot of assurance at that quarterback position. And how is Drinkwitz going to be able to kind of protect him on the road, so to speak, Blake?
Well, I went out on a limb in our Missouri-Kansas State preview, and I did pick Missouri to cover the spread, because I don't have a great feel for this game. And the reason why is and I may be wrong here, I think this is a low-scoring type game. When you look at Kansas State's defense, and I think just some of the things like we've talked about, maybe for Missouri. So I think, maybe there's an opportunity there. But likewise, guys, I'll say this. I wouldn't be shocked if this is one of those games where you kind of see early on that maybe Kansas State is just a mismatch here, and they just kind of outclass Missouri in some of these different areas, and then it gets away from Missouri. Because again, like we said, you've got some offensive potential there, but is it where it needs to be just yet? I don't think so. So I was probably a little bold on that prediction, but I don't know. I just think maybe because it could be a low scoring game, that's why I took Missouri in the points. But I don't love that one. That's kind of one I think I stay away from here, because I could see this going a variety of different ways with these two, probably.
I'm looking forward to Mighty Mouse over there, Deuce Vaughn.
Yes.
5'6", but man, he's a little dynamite. Comes in small packages, man. He is absolutely electric to watch run. And they've got Adrian Martinez that transferred in from Nebraska over there, so it's going to be fun to watch this game.
I think we're all thinking alike, Blake, because what I was about to say is, I think the big thing is Missouri's run defense better? And Deuce Vaughn is going to be a terrific test for that.
Yeah, no, they're going to challenge him, and I think that's what we said. I mean, we knew the talk coming into the season was going to be Missouri's defense, and like this is a great opportunity, I think, to kind of see what you can do against, like you mentioned, you've got a speedy running back, you've got a quarterback that's played, you've got experience there, and so Kansas State will challenge him. There's no doubt about it. So.
All right, Blayne, I'm going to throw it to you, and then I'll do the same to Blake. Give me a game involving teams in the SEC we haven't talked about that you want to watch the most that we have not discussed.
I mean, I'll get to it in just a second. I'm going to let Blake talk a little bit though about our sponsor here. I think we got to throw a little shout out to Steaks real quick before we move on to my next game. But Blake, go ahead, man. What we got over there with Steaks this week?
Before Blayne talks about Georgia and Samford as his game of the week here, we do have Steaks. You can see it on the little ticker there at the bottom. Just go to that link there. And we talked about it earlier. Chris mentioned we got a lot of stuff on Steaks. You can do prop bets, all this kind of stuff. You can have some fun with this. So sign up, playwithsteaks.com/14. Sign up there. Also, we've got the super chats now, guys. So listen, if you're feeling generous, we know it's not Christmas yet, but if you want to, throw a few bucks our way, we're going to put it towards getting all of us a big studio like Blayne is working in right now. That is our goal, for us to get all the revenue we can to be able to build this big shiny studio where we can all just kind of be great like Blayne is right now. But no, in all seriousness, we appreciate all the support from you guys. If you want to leave us a super chat, you can. That means you just give us a couple bucks. You can get a nice chat up on the screen, all this kind of stuff. So it's pretty fun. Click on that little $sign down there. We appreciate all your support as always.
And the promo code on Steaks, I think we've put that at the bottom on the ticker. Again, if you're joining us late, Steaks is a free app. The bets are free. You get tokens when you sign up. If you get enough, you can win free NFTs. But it's just for fun and bragging rights. We put polls in there involving the SEC every week, so you can see how we voted on certain things, and you can side with us or bet against us or whatever. You can create your own questions. And I encourage you to do that. And if you do, share it in the chat here. I want us to come up with some prop bets later in the show. Maybe it's player versus player, or which team wins its game by more, or whatever we think is interesting. I think the options are limitless. But yes, please visit our sponsor, Stakes. You can see the promo code and everything we've dropped in the chat. Click that link and go. And it's just a lot of fun. And by the way, it's a lot more than college football. You can do MLB, NFL, whatever. Like those guys a lot.
By the way, Blayne, all right, Georgia, 52.5 over Samford.
It's not Georgia and Samford.
If it's Georgia and Samford, you're kicked off this show. So.
It's Alabama and Texas, and the reason is I know that this is going to be a blowout, and in my opinion, I think that Alabama's going to take care of business. But I want to see what proportion and how it looks and how close Texas is for what portion of this game. For one reason, because you have now Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida that are all fighting for kind of the same recruits, it seems like, over the last 6-8 months, with Billy Napier coming in there, bringing a lot of excitement at Florida. Even Florida tried to get in late on Arch Manning there at the end, and he ends up going to Texas over Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. So with this being said, Nick Saban's already said he's coaching until he's 102. So he's not going anywhere. So he's going to stay around for a while. So you know that he wants to beat Texas into oblivion and put as much doubt as he can into those recruits that he's recruiting against Sark for. And I just am excited to see this the pass rush of Alabama go against this Texas offensive line, because I like carnage. I like things that are, I like to see some violence here, and that's what's going to happen. Alabama is going to tear up Texas this weekend, so that's my game.
By the way, shout out real quick, Harrison family,
yes.
who was one of the MVPs of our last live stream we did. And I think he agreed with me, the Harrison family did. So I think that's why we really appreciate him. But say $10 super chat. We appreciate this, Harrison family. We will spend it irresponsibly. There's no doubt between us three that will happen. But no, we greatly appreciate that. What Blayne was saying about this Alabama-Texas game, like he said, I think this is – we saw what Alabama did in week one. I know Utah State is not Texas, but we mentioned it, right? What Alabama did in a half was, to me, Alabama and Georgia were easily the two most impressive teams in week one. Georgia decimates a top 12 team, top 11 team in Oregon. Alabama could have probably put up 100 on the Utah State if they wanted to. Just kind of one of those things where I think you go into this game. Look, it's less than what's the line now? Is it still 19 or what's it at this point?
I think it's 20 and a half.
20 and a half. It was 19 when I made that graphic. So
yeah, I think anything 21 or under, I'm fine with. So I think Alabama's probably the play here for me. But we've said it going into the season. There's a reason why everybody has put Alabama at number one, and that's because they feel like, this is a team, and we do this every year, right? Like we find these teams that are great. It's mostly been Alabama. We talk about some of these teams. Is the best team he's had there. I don't know if that winds up being the case, but I do know this team can decimate pretty much everyone on their schedule if they are hitting on all cylinders. So, this is, to me, I think this is Alabama by 3 touchdowns or more, and I just feel like it's, we talked about it, guys. They got a lot of good players on that roster, in case you haven't heard. So,
Blayne, when Nick Saban is 102, does he mellow with age, or is he even more grumpy at 102? I've not been able to quit thinking about that since you said it.
Who knows? He's like, Father Time. He doesn't age. He's looked like he's been 62 for forever now. So that's not kind of how it goes. So, but no, I think the thing here that you got to look at with Alabama, in all seriousness, is if they do have one, Achilles heel out there, it's linebacker play is something that has been problematic, because their front is unbelievable. The pass rush is unbelievable. Now that they've got Jordan Battle and Helms and and McKinstry and Ricks on the back end. I think that's going to be fine. So the matchup, the one place that I want to see if Texas is able to exploit is with Sanders, Jatavian Sanders, their tight end, who had a big game against ULM, led them in receptions. If they're able to get him going, and if they can keep Quinn Ewers upright long enough to get him the ball because I'm telling you, Will Anderson and Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell are unbelievable on that front. So it'll be interesting to watch some fireworks there at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Blake, give me the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm going to give you my game after you ask me if you're asking me the same question.
Well, that's what I was asking you. So,
well, look, here's one that we haven't talked about. So I'm just going to go with this because we haven't talked about it, right? Arizona, Mississippi State to me is very fascinating because, Chris, you and I, we've said it. When we do our power rankings, we are very high on Mississippi State. And I can remember the preview we did with them. As we're talking through Mississippi State, like I'm just getting more and more impressed and kind of confident in what I think this team can do. We did this preview, probably almost 2 months ago. And I think seeing what they did in week one, what all do we take away from a game that was postponed kind of what is probably like a couple hours at least. And then, just came out and pretty much did what they wanted. But we said there's a lot to like with the offense, of course, with Will Rogers there. The offense is going to be something with Mike Leach. It's going to test people every single week. I don't see a lot of shutouts with this team. I think even the good defenses, there will be some gaps. I feel like that Mississippi State can take advantage of. But the defense is really, to me, I think you're going to see. This is the kind of game that I'm very interested to see, kind of what the Mississippi State defense does against Arizona, and also because I feel like the offense, you just kind of know what to expect. But I think the defense in a game like this, going on the road, I think this is, by the end of the season, I don't know where Arizona finishes, but I just feel like this is one of those games for Mississippi State. If you're going to be where we think they can be slotted in the SEC hierarchy, I think you win this game. And I just think this is one of the more fascinating ones of the weekend, even though, like we said, there's a lot of others that are going to get the attention, but I'm going to be watching this one because I think there's a very, very high entertainment value with this game.
I'm going to give you one more game. This is just freakily, if that's even a word, interesting. and it's Appalachian State and A&M.
Yes.
And the reason is because A&M pitched a shutout last week. And yes, I know Sam Houston, all that. A&M's got a ton of talent on that side of the ball. It's got maybe the best secondary in the country. It landed the best defensive line class maybe in the history of defensive line classes. Appalachian State scores 40 points in the fourth quarter and loses. I don't know if that's ever been done in the history of football. Loses 63-61 at UNC. Its quarterback throws 6 touchdowns. Appalachian State's been a really, really good group of 5 program for several years. I don't expect Appalachian State to, have a shot to win in the final minute or whatever it was last week. But I do want to see what gives here. Is A&M's defense good enough to really hold them down, or is Appalachian State just going to put up points on anybody and everybody?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know that as much as the defense you got to worry about with Texas A&M is the offense was abysmal. I know they ended up putting up some numbers late, but Haynes King threw 2 bad interceptions, and he could have thrown 2 more bad interceptions. He could have had 4 picks in this game. I'm talking about literally not seeing backside safeties on, seam throws and things like that, and just floating the ball over the middle. I'm still kind of surprised that Max Johnson didn't win that job out of camp for Jimbo Fisher. If Haynes King plays even remotely close to how he played in the first half against App State, who is much more talented than Sam Houston State, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up seeing Max Johnson before the end of this game. I mean, that's how bad it was in terms of their passing game. They punted several times against a team that they have all the talent in the world to just be going up and down the field on, and it was 17-0 and could have easily been 17-7 going into the half with Sam Houston State. And Chase Bryce is a lot better quarterback than Jordan Yates was for Sam Houston State. I think that's at 18.5 right now. I think that App State covers that 18.5. I really do. I feel like Chase Bryce and company can put up enough of a fight to cover that spread.
That's interesting. It was 16.5 this morning. So we in fact, I think in our video we've done a lot. I did that one alone, I believe. I think we've done so many now.
I know.
I'm pretty sure I took A&M to beat 16.5. And I probably would 18.5 too, but I'm still intrigued. So, what else we've got? Auburn, San Jose State. I don't know that'll be interesting. I think that's a mismatch stylistically.
That Auburn is a 22.5 point favorite. So this point spread in the Auburn San Jose State game is almost the same as Alabama and Texas.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, the rest of the games,
Blake.
let's be honest. I was going to say, the rest of the games, look, who have we not mentioned? I mean, we haven't mentioned Georgia, Samford, Ole Miss, Central Arkansas, LSU, Southern. Like we said, Auburn, San Jose State. They're interesting. Well, Blayne's got something on one of these.
The Ole Miss game's interesting because Luke Altmaier is going to start at quarterback instead of Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
So with Luke Altmaier starting for Ole Miss, I think that Jackson Dart just did not have a good performance at all against Troy. And Luke Altmaier, a lot of people were surprised coming out of the spring game, that, hey, he actually outperformed Jackson Dart in that spring game. But then you hear the comments that Lane Kiffin made in SEC media days about NIL and, hey, where the money is spent, those guys have to play. So I think that's maybe why Jackson Dart got the nod to start off with, because the NIL deal was probably large with the recruitment that he had leaving Southern Cal. So Luke Altmaier, it must be just outperforming Jackson Dart so much that in practice that Kiffin can't deny it any longer.
Okay, we are not professional bettors. Don't pretend to be. Don't even want to be. But these things are fun, right? And if you had some picks this week, whether it's somebody on the over/under or someone to cover, give me your top pick. I'm going to start with Auburn to cover 22.5 against San Jose State.
I'll tell you what I find interesting, and I'm getting all these pulled up here. I think Mississippi State, Arizona over 60.
Yes.
I think they're gonna see some points in that game. That's one that
was on my short list too.
Yeah, that's one I'm looking at. I mean, some of the others we talked about, that Florida Kentucky one, I just feel like the line's high.
I wouldn't touch that.
If that pushed up to 7, I would feel a lot. Then you're getting maybe the push there. So I don't think that happens, but that's one I would look at because I think that's going to be a close game. But like I mentioned, I'm picking Florida, but I think it's a close game. Those are probably the two to me that stand out. I'm trying to look at some of these others. We always have fun with the over-unders on these, don't we, Chris? Like that's what I love looking at some of these specifically. But like I said, I think Mississippi State, Arizona will probably be some points going up in that one. What was it? I think there was the other one, Chris, we talked about. Maybe it was Kansas State, Missouri, because I don't know what to expect.
I think we were thinking the under on that one, but I mean, on the over-unders, that one, State and Arizona jumped out as the one that I liked the most.
Yeah, those were a couple. I'll find another after Blayne picks his.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to give a note on the Kentucky Florida game last year. Kentucky was 8-4-1 last year against the spread, in their last 13 games, something along those lines. And then last year, both times that they were a 5-point underdog or more, they won outright. They were 2-0. So I think that Kentucky, getting 5.5 on the road, even though Florida was impressive and they were impressive to an extent, but I argue with people there as well. Utah was inside the 5-yard line 3 times and came away with 3 points in that game. So could have been a little bit different deal. I think it all hinges upon can Kentucky get that offensive line rolling and get some more run game going, because Florida did give up 230 yards. But I agree with you, Blake. I think that 5.5, creeping up to 6 in some places, I like Kentucky to cover that one, and I just think their record against the spread, under Stoops is pretty impressive there. So
Trying to find another one, but I don't have
I've got one, and I bet we all agree on this. I would take Alabama to cover 20.5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I said I'd take it 21 or, yeah. And again, I'd probably think about higher, but I think they win by multiple touch. Yeah, 3 or more.
How about this? I would like to know what the prop bet is on rush yards by Bryce Young, because he had 100 yards rushing against Utah State. And I know it's Utah State, but if that's an added component, last year he predominantly stayed in the pocket and tried to win games from the pocket, because he was all. It's almost like he was trying to dispel a narrative of him being a more mobile type quarterback and stuff from stuff he'd done in high school and things like that. But he started to run towards the end of the year last year, and this year he had 100 yards rushing. I would say, I would, if I was creating one in stakes, I would say over under 40 yards rushing for Bryce Young in this game. That would be something interesting to see for me, because if Alabama can add that and he can scramble around and create havoc there, man, good luck stopping the Crimson Tide with that added element.
I'll put that in the app. By the way, to the audience, last week we had a ton of questions. We haven't really had any so far.
Donovan's back.
Donovan, we love your Tigers this week. I hope you noticed.
Yeah, Donovan, I'm with you. Auburn covers this spread easily.
That's a bad stylistic matchup for San Jose State.
Yeah, I think Auburn takes care of business.
If you have questions, ask them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to them. I'll put that in the app. Let's see. I'll tell you another one, and I may be alone in this, although I think Blayne is with me. I would take. I don't feel great about it, but I have a sneaky feeling Vandy is going to cover 12.5 against Wake.
I would take that. I was all over it until the Sam Hartman news. Sam Hartman news, and now I just don't know. I don't know if Vandy on the back end has of their defense has the horses to kind of stay with it the entire game, because I don't know. Typically, if you've got some weaknesses on the back end, you got to have some consistent pass rush up front, and I just don't know if the complement's there enough to keep Sam Hartman off rhythm. So I think it's going to be close for a long time. I think we should do a prop bet on how many Vandy fans are at the game, because they're 2-0. They're 2-0, and there better be some excitement in Nashville. So I don't know what the capacity 40.
It's going to be. Well, I think rain is expected. That's probably going to hurt. Although I don't, not a lot of people are showing up either way. But
you're going to see a lot of black and a lot of gold / gold. So you may not be able to tell exactly who's Vandy, who's Wake
Forest. Thank you for that insight.
So there you go. There's my opinion. So it's going to look like a lot of Vandy fans, even with the Wake Forest fans, because of the color schemes. So you only get that here on Southeastern 14. So
what's capacity, Chris, at that stadium?
40 and change. I think it's 4350.
I wonder if we could put
soon to be smaller.
Wonder if we could put the over under at 30,000 fans. Can they get 30,000?
Oh no, you take the under. I would go. Actual fans in the stands, I'd go 19.
Hey, almost halfway there.
Yeah.
I'm going to start rolling through
Derek
some of these
Mason
questions.
destroyed that fan base.
Are you guys ready?
Oh, we're ready.
Let's go.
All right. We're going to roll through some of these quickly. We'll do quick thoughts on these. Mississippi State and Arizona. I said I think Mississippi State wins this game. I just think they're the better team, but Pac-12 after dark, you never know. But I think this is more entertaining to me, guys, than it looked maybe heading into the season, because Arizona, I thought, did some nice things in week 1. So
Arizona had lost 23 of 24 heading into that, and then went to San Diego State and ruined State's opener in a new stadium in front of about 40,000 people. So that was interesting, and had a good recruiting class. I think I've said this all along. I planted my flag on Mississippi State before the season, and I am keeping it there until I have good reason not to. I thought that was the team that I perceived as better than the public did, more than anybody else. and I didn't see anything last week to change my mind.
By the way, guys, you're sending in your questions and such. If you want to, because we're getting a lot of these now. If you want to make it stand out, super chat, baby. You can make it stand out a little more. Hit that $. You can throw in a buck or two and get yourself a super chat. Blayne, Mississippi State, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Leach gets to go back and play in Pac-12 after dark, so he ought to be right at home with everything there. But I agree. I just don't think. I think that Mississippi State has done pretty well in recruiting under Mike Leach. I mean, they've been at top 20, 25 classes here recently, and a little bit better than Arizona. So I just think that the talent disparity is going to be too much. I like Mississippi State to cover.
All right, guys. Brian Kelly, the next Chad Morris.
No.
Not. I don't know if there can be another one.
Has panic set in LSU Nation or what?
There was a hashtag going on Twitter. It was buyout Brian on Twitter. I'm like, I don't know who's going to be forking over that 75 or 80 million over there, but it'd be interesting to see that. But yeah, they were a little torqued over there with how they played in that opener.
Some messes take longer to clean up than others. If you were left like nuclear waste, that could be hard to clean up. I just think that the discipline issues they had, and look at the head coach. That wasn't exactly the most disciplined guy I've ever seen, was Ed Orgeron. I mean, they had the targeting penalty on Ali Gay, which was just dumb. They had the special teams blunders. You had Keyshawn Boutte. I don't know what was going on or is going on with him.
Yeah.
But I just think that they've got a lot of baggage. It's just a sense they got a lot of baggage and stuff to clean up before that one gets going back where LSU wants. And look, they may be hitting their stride next year or the year after. I just think that was a pretty substantial mess that was left behind. Now, I know they had talent, but I think you saw some issues with discipline and other stuff pop up on Monday night.
Will Arkansas rattle Spencer Rattler? I think they will.
Yeah. I mean, he had, I know one was tipped, but he had 2 picks against Georgia State. That's at home against in Columbia. I think DWR, that's going to get rocking over there. And I like that atmosphere to help out that Arkansas defense. But with Jalen Catalon possibly being out, their nickelback also being out, it will be interesting there. Like I said, watch that tight end versus safeties matchup in that game.
By the way, Juan staying away from the Vandy game, I would too, Juan. I want no part of betting that game. I think there's too many variables involved that I don't love about that. Trey likes UT to win by 10+. I don't know, Blayne. It's a lot of confidence in the Vols there.
I don't know. I got to see. I need to see the defense. I'm all on for. I'm taking the over. I like both offenses to score a lot of points, but I think Tennessee's going to give up a lot of points too. I'm taking Tennessee by a field goal, but I don't know about 10+.
Yeah,
over under that is, what do we say, 64-ish?
64.5 is what I saw it at earlier. So
yeah, I think that would be another one where we might go over.
Cayman thinks Mississippi State's going to be underrated this year. I think Chris and I were on that train going into the season. So, I think that, like we said, this is a big game because I think they should win this game against Arizona, but we'll see how it turns out. We just kind of talked about this, Rusty, on the state of LSU football, but we'll see. A lot of expectations. I don't think Brian Kelly took the job thinking that he wasn't going to have any pressure. So here's an interesting one. Kind of what we think about Ole Miss, because I think that's this week's not going to tell us a whole lot because they're playing Central Arkansas, but we talked about the quarterback situation. I just think Ole Miss to me was always going to be a hard team to get a read on a couple games into the season because they have so many new players, and especially now, like we said, we see kind of the shuffling with the quarterback. So that's a hard team for me to get a read on just yet.
No, I think that Lane Kiffin's pushing the right button here. We're going with Luke Altmaier. Jackson Dart just has not been impressive, even in their spring game. A lot of critical mistakes, but Luke Altmaier just, kind of like last year when everybody was clamoring for JT Daniels to start and Stetson Bennett just kept finding his way into the game and looked comfortable. I think you're going to see Luke Altmaier look very comfortable, and I think he'll add a little bit to this Ole Miss offense. But Zach Evans was impressive against Troy. But overall, they have to have more continuity on that offense. But hey, only giving 10 points up to anybody, that's a win for a Lane Kiffin defense. So
that's true.
You should feel a little bit better about your defense over there for Ole Miss.
Yeah, defense has been, since they figured some stuff out last year, it's been better. Although I think feels like they probably should give up a few more points than they do, which was sort of the case against Troy. I'm just judging from the box score. I didn't see it, so maybe that's unfair. But I just don't think we know what Ole Miss is until October because of that schedule.
Still early. So, all right, guys, 5-minute warning. We're going to hop off at the top of the hour. So if you got anything else you want us to discuss, let us know. Jonathan with a good question here. Who's the most overrated team in the SEC? I think it's just let's just give Blayne this 5-minute stage here and just let's just let him do his thing because
if you're talking about the AP, I don't see. I know Florida won at home, but I don't see how they jump up to 12 in the country when literally they could have given up 21 more points right there easily with the ball on the 5-yard line 3 times, and they end up giving 3 points, and that was mainly because a fumble, a forced ball by a veteran quarterback. I don't know. I think they get brought down to earth a little bit this week against Kentucky.
I'm going to go A&M. A&M is 6 in the AP poll. I think we might like 6 SEC teams better than A&M. In fact, I do.
Yeah.
I don't think A&M's bad. I don't think, it's just it's prove it to me. And that's a young team. It's got some offensive issues. I just don't think 6 is where A&M is yet.
All right, let's go to the opposite side with Donovan here because I think this is, likewise here. I mean, I think, Chris, for you, this would most underrated team in the SEC would probably be, would it be Mississippi State based on?
Yeah. And I think we 80% of the time we think alike. I don't think there's a bigger disagreement between the three of us than Blayne and I on Florida.
No,
I didn't know what Florida was, but I was kind of reserving judgment. I wanted to see that Utah game. You guys know what I think of Anthony Richardson. You know what I think of Billy Napier. I just think that's, I don't know. Blayne and I on opposite ends of Florida. I don't know that Florida's 12, but I thought people might be sleeping on the Gators a little bit. And the Utah game certainly didn't change my mind the other way.
I think Auburn's extremely underrated. I think everybody came into the season thinking Auburn's going to be a train wreck, and I'm telling you something about how the offseason was handled, and I really think from talking to people over there was kind of a us against the world kind of bunker mentality that Brian Harsin got with that team, and they really did bond. And I'm just telling you, I think Auburn is going to be 5-0, going to face Georgia on October 8th because Penn State had to do everything in the world to survive against Purdue. LSU, is what LSU is that we've seen now. And I'm just telling you, I think that Auburn's going to be 5-0 taking on Georgia.
Donovan, that's all you wanted. That's all you wanted was to have Blayne. But look, I think I'd put Auburn too, because if I'm looking at my rankings, I don't know if I'd say Mississippi State is underrated, but because we've been talking about them a lot. But there you go, Auburn. There's your pick. So
Takeo Spikes. So we know Donovan's been around a while.
That's right. So that's right. By the way, Decline.
Although
here,
Takeo Spikes is doing TV now, so I guess that could be it too.
That's true. I thought he did a good job. I watched him during that long delay with A&M's game.
Oh God. Let's hope. My one wish this weekend: no more stinking rain and lightning delays.
No more. Decline. I'm with you all over the Mississippi State, Arizona over. I think that's what I said. It was 60 and a half. I'm totally going over that. So yeah. So Harrison family thinks Blayne just put the jinx on Auburn. We'll see. We'll find out. I don't think it's happening this weekend though. Harrison family. So. Yeah.
No, they're gonna be just fine. Here's the thing: when I saw them get under center, like actually you don't see that anymore, and put Tank Bigsby 7-8 yards deep in the backfield and let him get a running start at the line of scrimmage in outside zone. I mean, that's just something you don't see anymore at the college level. And when you've got a back like Tank Bigsby and he's able to do that, man, I really like I like the style of play. And listen, people want to talk about TJ Finley. He threw 2 picks. not all picks are created equal. They were already up 28-0. Robbie Ashford was about to come in. I think he was just trying to get a little greedy and force some things in there. But by the way, that is a huge wrinkle. Robbie Ashford can provide them a great mix-up there, change of pace type quarterback, and also he has a howitzer attached to his right side of his body. He launched one about 65 yards down the middle on a post. That was a beautiful thrown ball. So I'm just telling you, I think Auburn's got a little bit more than people want to give them credit for.
Hey, I put that as a prop bet in the app. Who has more yards of total offense this week? Ashford or Finley? Now, I think it's Finley, and that's where I bet, but I just thought, well, it'll be interesting to put that in there.
For sure.
Just because of last week. Give me a good prop bet that we can put in the app here.
Yeah, here you go.
I'll give you one. More yards of total offense, Will Levis or Richardson?
Whew, that's a tough one.
I'll tell you one thing: Anthony Richardson isn't going to run for over 100 yards versus Kentucky. He's just not going to. The team speed for Kentucky is faster than what he faced against Utah. It may not. It's going to be the same as physicality wise, but Kentucky's got more team speed than Utah had.
Donovan finally, I think, agrees with me on something.
I was going to say
that's who I would take too, but I don't think that's easy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is one though. Put it in the app. Playwithstakes.com/14 there. All you guys go play that. We're going to put that one in the list, I think. So
with Chris Rodriguez out, Will Levis, I think, is going to have to run the ball.
I was going to say, I think, I would probably go Levis because I think, and even if it's a situation where they're playing from behind too, right? Like
that's what I was. I think Florida's going to win and Kentucky will be playing. That's why I think that's such a good bet.
Chris versus Donovan, like this is an all time. This is the Florida and Kentucky for week 2. There you go. So, oh, this is great. We appreciate it, Donovan. All right, Chris. Anything we got? Any other plugs? Like I said, by the way, quickly, Harrison family, thank you so much for the $10 donation. As we said, we're putting that towards our studio, which is currently not under construction, but we hope someday it will be. Like I said, we appreciate all you guys. This is so much fun to do these live chats. Of course, we do a gazillion videos during the week, but these are our most exciting ones we do just because we get to interact with you guys. So we really appreciate it.
Tell your friends, pop in here each Wednesday night and chop it up with us on SEC ball.
Hey, Donovan, I've got some good news for you. When you go to that app and stakes and you go to playwithstakes.com/14, drop the promo code Southeastern14. I put in our bets for this week on the app. There's at least 2 on every game, I believe. Sometimes 3, and there's going to be some more bets. I'll put Richardson and Levis in. Donovan, you can bet against me on every one, and you'll sleep better. And you'll win a lot of NFTs that way. And by the way, you guys can drop your own bets in the app. So you can tag the game. If the audience would like to put in a prop bet or something on there that's not in there about the game, put yours in. We'll look for it, and we'll see if we can bet on that too.
All right, one more thing, guys. We're about to go. Blayne, you go first. I'll go after you.
I just saw Pablo hop in there and say, how is the Arkansas secondary going to perform without Catalon and Slusher? I think the importance of having experience behind those guys. Latavius Burney, like I said, can play free safety behind him. He's had experience at Georgia. Physical guy, he's long, can cover those tight ends. And I think, Trent Gordon stepping in at nickelback. So I think they'll be fine. But, man, they can't afford for one of them to, tweak an ankle or something during the game. Then they'll be real thin.
All right, guys. We have 1 minute on the clock. This is for everyone in the chat, too. Super Bowl pick right here before the NFL season starts on Thursday. Who are you picking to win the Super Bowl? I got the Bucs. Says the guy wearing the Rams sweatshirt.
You're taking the Bucs.
I've got the Bucs over the Chargers in the Super Bowl. How about that? I'm going all in on the Chargers and Justin Herbert this year.
I'm gonna say that the curse of Jim Kelly is broken, and the Bills win the Super Bowl.
I'll go Bills, but I'll be honest. All my football time goes into college football or the Titans. I do watch my Titans, and time for the NFL just isn't there anymore.
Hey, we got some good variety in the chat. We got Rams, Bengals, Bills, Cowboys, Arkansas. All great picks, I think, for the Super Bowl.
R.P. McPherson,
Arkansas.
bless your heart
Yes.
if you're going with the Cowboys. You're a loyal fan.
There you go. All right, Chris, wrap it up.
Great games to watch this weekend. We say this every weekend. We're going to try to do something live. I think it'll work out better Saturday. And maybe I just do something live Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, if it's just me. But
Donovan will be there, don't worry.
Donovan will be there. We do want to bring you something on Saturdays. Just last Saturday just did not work out with schedules and rain delays and all that fun stuff. So,
Charles, by the way, I know you were responding to Donovan, but we had some fun with Arkansas winning the Super Bowl. I think a lot of people in the chat would agree. So
Donovan's got Auburn winning the Super Bowl.
Well, there you go. Auburn going to be better than there you go. So,
Donovan,
hey, we love you guys.
Everybody have a good and safe weekend, and we'll see you again soon.